ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ. Welcome to this segment of Code Gurbani's a-sabad-a-day, the recitation Surat Mahalla Panjama, the 84th sabad in this progression. Surat Mahalla Panjama, Sukh Sanhd Ghar Aaia, निंदक कै मुख छाया, पूरे गुर पहराया, बिन से दुख सवाया. संतो साचे की वड्याई, जिन अचरज सोभ बनाई. राहाओ बोले साहिब कै पाणे, दास बाणी ब्रह्म वखाणे. नानक प्रभ सुखदाई, जिन पूरी बनत बनाई. नानक प्रभ सुखदाई, जिन पूरी बनत बनाई. So here, there is this sense of returning home safely. Sukh Sanhd Ghar Aaia, I returned home safely. Nindak ke mukh chaya, but the slanderer was blocked at the gate. Now again, the translation of mukh is important in this context. As in the previous Shabad, I've used mukh to mean gate because if you recall, we are talking about a process that leads you to various milestones, and the dargah being a milestone, a threshold of consciousness. So while I returned home safely, Sukh Sanhd Ghar Aaia, the slanderer was blocked. Nindak ke mukh chaya. Chaya again, one has to be careful. It means shade, but it also means a blockage. A shade is darkness. So it's metaphorical, and that is how one needs to understand Gurbani. And why was I able to return home? Pure gur pehraya, bin se dukh sabaya. I was able to return home, the Guru says, because I was adorned, decorated, if you will, with wisdom of the Pura Gur. Here it is in the past sense, Pura Gur, with a Sihari, meaning this is something that happened to me. And when that happened, when I was adorned with that wisdom, in other words, when I internalized that wisdom, then bin se dukh sabaya, suffering vanished. And suffering in Gurbani is always associated with the ego, conditioned mind. So this is crossing over. Returning home, in a metaphorical spiritual sense, signifies back to one's original essence. So it's a metaphor for reconnecting with one's deepest identity, one's roots. So we usually refer to this as merging back. So another way of looking at this is when you're merging back, like the drop merging into the ocean, when that happens, the drop disappears. So this also means letting go of false identities, conditionings, distractions, and coming back to one's natural state. So we have to drop negativity, we have to drop our ego identifications, because the ego is always describing itself in a self-referential way, but connected to things outside of it. So the slandering, why is the slanderer blocked? Because slandering is a vice, it's gossip, it's malice. And so you are blocked not because there's somebody there blocking you, because you carry the weight of your own actions and thoughts, and it becomes impossible to move through that threshold. It impedes. You are your own impediment. That's the lesson. Nobody's out there saying you can't go through. So these are the inner effects of your own actions that weigh you down, that prevent you from going across the gate, the threshold. So then in the Rahao, Santo, here invoking the seekers, it's plural, Santo, Sache ki vadiyai, jin acharaj soba banai. Sache ki vadiyai, Sacha, the eternal, the eternal true one, ek oankar, if you will. Ki vadiyai, greatness, jin acharaj soba banai, who has created this astonishing beauty. So what is astonishing? What is the beauty of the Eternal One? It is the greatness of the truth with a capital T to transform, because it's a living essence. It's just not a concept. So this living essence is transforming if you connect with it. It will transform your suffering into peace, the darkness that you feel into radiance, and your struggle into grace. If you recall, in the previous verse, the Guru said, Sukh Paya, Sukhadai, you find rest. So the astonishing beauty of the truth is not just what you see outside of yourself, but also the way it unfolds within, subjectively, as an overflowing of love. And we have testimony, Santo. Also, you can look at it that way. We have their testimony. We have Nanak's testimony, Nanak's sabad, to testify. So the greatness of the truth is that it is astonishing, that it is transformative, it heals, it beautifies, it brings radiance, and it makes a miracle out of ordinary existence. What seemed very ordinary becomes extraordinary. That is the marvelous nature of the sabad. And at that point, when this happens, when you get to that, when you cross that threshold, Bole Sahib ke paane, Das Bani Brahma Vakhane. At that point, you speak the will. You are so blended in that what you say is completely aligned, quite effortlessly. Speech and action align with a higher dimension of consciousness, the flow, as it were. Because now there is no egoic pretense, just natural expression. One recognizes that the wisdom is not your own, but you are simply an echo of that infinite, eternal truth. So when you say that Das Bani Brahma Vakhane, it means that you are now a channel for the divine. When you're truly aligned, your expressions are channels for the greater reality. You're so emptied of ego that what flows through you is nirmal, without the mal, the dirt, the filth of ego. And that is unifying. So one has to cross that threshold by lightening oneself, meaning lightening oneself of the load that we carry. And here we were given one example, of that load, which was slander. And we have to recognize a whole host of loads that we carry. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.